There's something about the way a lie slips out of someone you love, soft, almost musical, that makes it sting more. Like your brain doesn't want to believe it, so it wraps the falsehood in trust just long enough for it to sink in. That's what it felt like when Jenna told me she was going to Sedona. 5 days. Total silence. No phones, no internet, no speaking. Just detoxing everything. Sound, thought, even time. She said it with her hands still inside her suitcase, folding gauzy robes and rolling up her yoga mat with this serene smile that made me feel like I was the stressed one, the chaotic one. She was just this glowing orb of clarity, hovering above me while I packed her travel-size probiotics. "You're really not going to check in at all?" I asked, leaning on the bathroom doorframe. "Nope. It's a strict vow of silence. It's the whole point." She laughed, not cruelly, but light and musical, like I was adorable for needing connection. I nodded. "Well, I'll miss you." "I'll miss me too," she said, and kissed my forehead like she was blessing me. I watched her drive off in the white Tesla I helped her lease last fall. It had our business decals still clinging to the back window. Her logo, Lamora Skin, beneath it in gold. "Awaken your glow." God, I wanted to believe in her glow. I should explain something before we go further. I'm not just Jenna's husband. I'm also the guy who built her brand, literally. I'm a branding consultant. I help startups, creators, and even some C-list celebs figure out what their story is and how to sell it. Jenna was my side project, my passion project. When we met, she was a part-time yoga teacher doing facials out of her tiny apartment in West Hollywood. Her skincare line was 5 mason jars with handwritten labels. Now she had 200,000 followers on Instagram and a distribution deal pending with a boutique retailer in Santa Monica. She had a glow-up, all right, and I was proud of her. Honestly, I watched her transform from someone scraping by into someone who could sit across from investors and say words like vertical integration and raw Himalayan enzymes without blinking. So when she told me she was going on a silent retreat to recharge before her big rebrand launch, I didn't question it. Well, not at first. Jenna came back 5 days later looking different. Not unrecognizable, just amplified. Everything about her was dialed up. Her skin had a surreal, glowy tan, like she'd been kissed by a filter. Her hair, normally tied in a tight bun, fell loose and wavy around her shoulders. And her eyes sparkled in a way I hadn't seen since our honeymoon. She stepped through the door with a little silver carry-on and a bottle of green juice. "Babe," I said, stunned. "You look radiant," she offered, grinning. That's the word everyone keeps using. I didn't press. Not that night. She was affectionate, almost euphoric. She lit candles around the house, played ambient jungle music in the background, and even offered to give me a facial using one of her unreleased clay blends. We hadn't been this connected in weeks. And later that night, in bed, she was experimental, adventurous, confident in a way that didn't feel like her, or maybe felt like a version of her I hadn't been introduced to yet. I chalked it up to the retreat, to Sedona, to rediscovery. But something didn't sit right. The first red flag was in the labels. 2 weeks later, we were finalizing the new packaging for her relaunch. She'd decided to reposition Lamora as more archetypal, less beachy, more goddess core. She wanted labels with earthy tones and serif fonts, ancient symbols, tarot-style illustrations. Something mystic but minimal. She handed me a sketch she claimed she'd mocked up during a cacao ceremony, and I stopped mid-sip of my coffee. This font, the curves, the italics, the jagged ligatures, it was familiar. Not just familiar, specific. 3 years ago, I attended a branding workshop downtown led by a guy named R.A.F.E. He called himself a design alchemist, whatever the hell that means. The guy was a mix of genius and narcissist. The kind of guy who could sell you your own birth certificate for $1,200 if he framed it right. I remember Jenna's reaction when I showed her one of his old decks. "He's intense," she said, squinting at the screen. "But I get why people hire him. He's brilliant." Now, I looked down at her sketch. This wasn't inspiration. This was theft. Or collaboration. I started snooping. First, I checked her email drafts, looking for any recent contact with R.A.F.E. Nothing. She was too smart for that. I tried her desktop folders, but the only thing newer than March was a compressed folder labeled Wellness Retreat/Notes, and that only had a PDF titled Desert Breathwork Playlist. It wasn't until I looked at the prototype label itself, The high-res one she'd sent to the printers, that I got a clue. Buried deep in the file metadata was an author tag, created by R.F.E. My hands clenched around the mouse. She hadn't made this. R.A.F. had, and he hadn't just handed it to her. This was the final version, labeled V4. It had layers. That meant collaboration, iteration, time spent. My wife had been in Sedona with someone else, and they weren't doing yoga. Once you notice a crack, you can't stop seeing how deep it runs. I sat in my home office staring at the metadata on that label file, created by R.F.E. Not just a coincidence. Not something you chalk up to a shared template or a rogue Canva upload. This was personal. This was deliberate. And it wasn't just about the design. It was about the story she told me. The retreat. The silence. The total disconnect. The lie that had been whispered sweetly enough for me to believe it. And stupidly, I had. I should have caught it earlier, the little things. The way she came back from the retreat with a deeper tan than I got in Cabo. The way she talked about creative flow and cosmic intimacy, words I'd never heard her use before. The sudden burst of affection followed by this eerie, curated serenity, like she'd downloaded a whole new personality. But it wasn't until I saw his name in the metadata that the illusion collapsed. Rafe Benton, the branding coach, the design alchemist, the smug, high-cheekboned weirdo with a spiritual superiority complex and a curated man bun who once lectured me for 30 straight minutes about the sacred geometry of packaging. 3 years ago, I left his workshop more inspired than impressed. He was brilliant, sure, but also the kind of guy who smelled like Palo Santo and spoke in riddles about creative penetration. Jenna had laughed when I told her about him. He sounds like the kind of guy who charges $10,000 just to tell you to use beige, she said. Apparently, beige had grown on her. I started digging. I knew from experience that someone like Rafe wouldn't leave his work just floating around for free. He prized exclusivity. His portfolio wasn't publicly visible, invite only. But I knew how these private networks worked. Password-locked portfolios, hidden behind paywalls or client portals. So I created a dummy account. Brand agency name, Soulframe Concepts. Email, soulframe.consults@gmail.com. Bio, high-end creative agency looking to partner with soul-first designers for influencer rebrands. I sent the request to view his private portfolio on Behance. 3 hours later, I got access. Inside were the usual suspects, mock-ups of expensive-looking essential oil brands, minimalist clothing lines, and one notable pitch deck titled, L'Amoura, Rebirth Through Skin. Visual Direction V4, Final Approved J. I clicked, and the deck opened. There she was, Jenna, in a desert field, eyes closed, face upturned toward the sun, wearing a sheer white robe and holding what looked like a bowl of clay. This wasn't just a concept. This was a campaign, a photo shoot, with her in it. And in the next slide, handwritten copy, supposedly from Jenna. I let the heat burn off what wasn't mine. I let the earth hold me when no one else would. I let a man show me my light, and I bottled it. I scrolled faster. Notes appeared in the sidebar. Adjust exposure on shot 3. Pull shadows. Jay wants a warmer tone. Says it feels more orgasmic. LOL. My blood turned to ice. This wasn't just business. I wasn't sure what I felt at first. Betrayal? Rage? Sure. But beneath it was something more subtle. Something deeper. I felt replaced. I wasn't her partner anymore. Not creatively. Not emotionally. She had found someone else to design her world with. Someone who made her feel radiant and divine and unbound. I was just the guy who helped her LLC paperwork get approved. The guy who stayed home and paid the electric bill. She had evolved, she would probably say. Found someone who matched her frequency. Some garbage like that. I clicked into the folder labeled Voice Memos for copywriting flow. The first one started with Jenna's voice, breathy, giggling, and far too comfortable. Okay, so I'm imagining her. This woman, this muse, she's raw. Wild. She's got clay under her nails and stars in her eyes. She doesn't ask for attention. She pulls it. You know, Rafe's voice followed. MMM. That's you. You just described yourself. Laughter. Then silence. Then more rustling. Then a moan. I closed the file before it finished. That was enough. The second red flag was on her shared drive. I remembered that Jenna had once forgotten to remove me from her old Dropbox business folder when we first set up L'Amoura. I hadn't opened it in over a year. She handled her own files now. but something told me to check. Sure enough, the folder was still there. /Lumira 2.0/. Inside, among the brand kits and supplier invoices, was a file named Wildfire Week Journal. It was a Google Doc. I opened it and found a dated entry, timestamped the first night she left for Sedona. March 14th. I'm here. Not at the retreat, obviously. I told Ethan it was silent yoga, but I couldn't face the look he'd give me if I told him the truth. That I was choosing this. That I needed to come here to feel seen, wanted, worshipped. R.A.F.E makes me feel alive. Makes me feel like I'm not just surviving. I'm awakening. Further down, he said I taste like earth. Like something real. I said he makes me want to burn it all down. I stopped reading. I had seen enough. The hard part wasn't learning the truth. The hard part was pretending I hadn't. I needed time. Time to plot. Time to move pieces. I was a branding consultant after all. If I knew anything, it was how to tell a story. And now I had one. A tale of deception. Of lust. Of rebranding. Not just a product, but a person. I'd help Jenna tell her story. Loudly. Publicly. Truthfully. But not yet. First, I needed to be patient. To let the Lumira launch approach. To smile and nod through dinner while she talked about archetypal design and soulful packaging. I needed her to feel safe. Triumphant. Because when you take down a brand, you don't do it in the shadows. You do it under a spotlight. The thing about branding, real branding, is that it's not just about colors and fonts and taglines. It's about control. You control perception, narrative, emotion. You don't sell the product. You sell the story around it. And I was done letting Jenna write the story. For weeks, I played the part. Dutiful husband. Supportive partner. I even gave her feedback on her campaign teaser videos, pretending like I didn't know the man behind the lens had his hands all over her during the shoot. I smiled. I nodded. I said, "You're killing it, babe." In reality, I was building my own campaign. One she never saw coming. Her big launch was scheduled for April 27th, a Thursday. Influencer live stream, dual simulcast on Instagram and TikTok, live unboxing, exclusive promo codes. The whole thing choreographed like a Broadway show for skincare addicts. Brielle Stone was hosting. Yeah, that Brielle Stone, ex-Bachelor runner-up turned vegan beauty mogul with over 2 million followers and a ruthless eye for female empowerment branding. Jenna had landed her through some mutual PR contact, and it was the biggest spotlight of her career. Just remember to breathe. I told Jenna the night before the event. And don't forget to mention the new moon synergy thing you came up with. She smiled as she spritzed her pillow with lavender mist. I don't need notes this time. This brand is me now. That's what she didn't realize. That was the problem. Meanwhile, I had my own playbook in motion. It started with a little email. From another fake identity, this time, under a different agency name, Aurora Concept Studio. I reached out to several gossip microblogs and a few anonymous Instagram accounts known for exposing influencer drama. You'd be surprised how hungry these people are for dirt. A few carefully chosen words and screenshots, and they were already frothing at the mouth. The message was short, snappy, and impossible to ignore. Ever wonder who really built Lumira's rebrand? Spoiler, it wasn't Jenna. Attached, emails, voice notes, and collaboration files between Jenna and her branding coach. He designed the product while she was in bed beside him. The leak included 3 internal email threads, one screen recording of their creative feedback session, and a screenshot of her journal entry. Just enough to build the fire. I didn't release it all. Not yet. Timing is everything. The second part of my plan involved the live interview itself. Now, I didn't have direct access to Jenna's account, but I did have admin access to our old shared Shopify backend, the one she still used to run promo codes and handle live order analytics. Rookie mistake on her part. She thought removing my admin status a year ago had locked me out, but she'd missed the backup admin account I'd quietly added under a fake name. From there, I could see everything. The event outline, the auto-generated promo links, even the chat overlay that would stream across the screen during the live. So I created my own overlay. Using the Shopify integration, I embedded a message that would run across the screen just 5 minutes into the live stream. A fake fan comment. That wasn't a fan at all. At Skin Truths Exposed. Did R.A.F. Benton really design your packaging in bed with you? YOLO. I have receipts nail polish #LumiraLie. It would look like just another viewer comment. But it would ignite the fuse. April 27th arrived like a storm cloud. Jenna was up at 6, already rehearsing in the mirror, curling her hair in soft, beachy waves. She wore a flowy white blouse that mirrored the new packaging aesthetic, all soft edges and feminine archetype chic. You know the look. Natural elegance with a touch of oracle. Brielle's team arrived around 10 a.m. Cameras, lighting, makeup. I stayed out of the way, as instructed. Just another supportive husband, watching from the shadows. At noon, the stream went live. Hey everyone. Brielle beamed into the camera. We are so excited today to launch one of the most anticipated skincare relaunches of the year. I'm here with the incredible Jenna Ray, founder of L'Amour Skin. They bantered. They smiled. They sipped on rosewater mocktails. Jenna explained her soul journey and how she found her truest expression in the desert winds. That's when it hit. Exactly 5 minutes in, my planted comment scrolled across the live chat window. At Skin Truths Exposed. Did R.A.F.E Benton really design your packaging in bed with you? LMYOLO. I have receipts nail polish hashtag #LaMorali. At first, nothing. Then, the comments began rolling in. Wait, what? Who's R.A.F.E? In bed? What does that mean? Hashtag #LaMorali LMFAOLO. You check the tag receipts. Brielle blinked. Jenna's smile faltered for just a split second. But in the influencer world, that's all it takes. Brielle said, glancing at her phone off camera. Looks like there's a bit of chatter in the comments right now. Jenna's eyes darted sideways. Yeah, trolls, she said quickly. We knew they'd come. But they weren't trolls. They were believers. And now they were bloodthirsty. 10 minutes in, one of the Instagram gossip pages I'd fed the files to dropped a bombshell. At Wellness Wreckage. Police Garlight exclusive. The truth about L'Amour's rebrand. Designed by a man she was sleeping with while married. Full thread incoming. Hashtag #LaMorali. They posted the screenshots. The journal excerpt. The branding files with R.A.F.'s name watermarked across the top. Within minutes, the stream descended into chaos. Brielle's PR team scrambled to turn off the chat. Viewers started screen recording. Someone reposted the leaked journal entry with the caption, I let a man show me my light, and I bottled it. The backlash was nuclear. One comment, in particular, stuck with me. So you built your brand on female empowerment, while letting some dude creatively penetrate you for a logo? Skull sparkles, okay, you priestess. The stream cut off abruptly. Jenna didn't come home that night. I sat on the couch alone, watching the DMs roll in on her now private Instagram. The gossip pages had gone wild. L'Amour's site crashed from the traffic spike. Brielle unfollowed Jenna by midnight. 3 sponsors dropped by morning. But I wasn't done. This wasn't just about ending her brand. It was about replacing it. I didn't sleep much the night after the livestream collapse. Not because I was restless or unsure. In fact, it was the opposite. I felt awake. The way you feel when you've taken control of a narrative after being sidelined in your own life for too long. I wasn't sad. I wasn't shaken. I was strategic. Jenna's world had imploded in real time, broadcast to thousands of viewers who'd come for exfoliant and affirmations, but stayed for the scandal. Within hours, hashtag #LaMorali was trending on wellness Twitter and Reddit threads, dissected every second of the stream. Clips were posted with titles like, Jenna Ray's cringe face the moment it all unravels. Timestamp 5/12. This is what happens when authenticity is fake AF. The R.A.F. reveal. How not to rebrand your life. She didn't come home that night. She didn't even text. I assume she holed up at a friend's place. Or maybe even with R.A.F., though judging by the social fallout, he was probably trying to vanish off the grid entirely. His own Instagram went private the next morning, and someone tagged me in a post showing that he'd turned off all comments on his business page. The flame war had spread fast. But I wasn't looking for fire. I wanted control. Because you don't just end a brand. You replace it. 6 weeks before the live stream, back when I first found R.A.F.'s name buried in the label file, I quietly registered a new LLC. R.A.F.E Incorporated. I used a shell agency and set up everything anonymously. Website, logo, product designs. I even sourced cheap but decent private label skincare from a manufacturer that specialized in influencer knockoffs. It wasn't about making something good. It was about making something funny. Because satire, when done well, cuts deeper than scandal ever could. The brand? I called it R.A.F.E. Radiantly Artificial Formulations for Everyone. Each product name was taken directly from the voice memos, emails, and journal entries I'd collected during my investigation. I turned their late-night pillow talk into labels, their ego-fueled metaphors into packaging copy. Wildfire Week, a deep cleansing scrub with charcoal, volcanic ash, and zero shame. Creative Penetration, a face serum with aggressive marketing and questionable ethics. Taste of Earth, a mud mask. Tagline, infused with betrayal and bentonite. Brandgasm, an exfoliating polish for that post-launch glow. And the kicker, our hero product. Embody this, an all-purpose balm with the tagline. Formulated by men who cheat. I had them printed with minimalist white labels, serif fonts, and a subtle gold border. Almost identical to Jenna's rebranded look. It wasn't just parody. It was mimicry. Close enough to cause discomfort. Far enough to avoid lawsuits. I made the first batch just 500 units. Enough to make a splash, not a mess. Then I partnered with a few small-time meme influencers who loved nothing more than skewering the LA wellness scene. I sent them boxes with no instructions. Just a note inside each. Because your glow shouldn't come at the cost of your dignity. R.A.F.E. 3 days after Jenna's live meltdown, the first R.A.F.E. unboxing video hit Instagram. A woman in oversized sunglasses and a sarcastic tone narrated it. So I got this mysterious skincare box in the mail. It's called R.A.F.E., which apparently stands for Radiantly Artificial Formulations for Everyone. First impressions? The aesthetic is giving Soul Coach gets canceled mid-manifestation. Let's explore. She pulled out Wildfire Week. Read the back aloud. Inspired by a branding coach who believes in spiritual monogamy, unless the client is hot and married. Wow. Spicy. Then she pulled out Embody This. Saw the tagline. She froze. Looked at the camera. Wait. Formulated by men who cheat? Who the hell made this? Because I'm obsessed. Boom. 10,000 likes in 3 hours. Over the next week, the parody exploded. People thought it was a joke campaign at first. Then they realized it was real. Orders poured in. Not from people looking for great skincare, but from people wanting to be in on the punchline. Everyone loves a takedown, especially when it's pretty. Twitter threads popped up breaking down each product, matching it to the original Lamora launch. One side-by-side graphic went viral. Lamora's copy, R.A.F.E.'s copy. I found my glow in the desert heat. She found his ego in a yurt in Sedona. Formulated with soul. Tested on influencers. Skincare for the feminine divine. Skincare for the divinely fooled. Within 5 days, R.A.F.E..com had done $14,000 in sales. Most of it from repeat customers who admitted they hadn't even opened the products. I just like knowing it exists, one woman commented. It's petty. It's perfect. It's practical satire. A phrase I wish I'd trademarked. Then came the email. Not from Jenna. Not directly. It was from her lawyer. We are reaching out on behalf of our client Jenna Ray concerning your product line and associated marketing materials which appear to infringe upon and defame the Lamora brand. Blah, blah, cease and desist, brand confusion, brand dilution, damage to reputation. I didn't even finish reading it. Instead, I drafted my own press release, posted publicly on my site. To whom it may concern, R.A.F.E. is a parody brand intended to illuminate the absurdity and hypocrisy of certain influencer wellness narratives. We categorically deny any association with Lamora or its founder, aside from being inspired by public events. We exist to mock, not to market. If people are mistaking satire for the real thing, perhaps the real thing should take a closer look in the mirror. Ethan Drake, founder, R.A.F.E. Inc. It got screenshotted and shared within hours. A journalist from a beauty startup newsletter asked if I'd be open to an interview. I agreed, anonymously, of course, under the alias Redacted Brand Husband. The headline? The pettiest skincare brand in LA just dismantled a wellness empire, one sarcastic serum at a time. A week later, Jenna finally came home. She didn't knock, just walked in like she still had keys. Which she did. Another mistake on my part. She looked thinner, pale, like someone had drained the glow right out of her. Do you think this is funny? She asked, voice shaking. What you're doing? I didn't answer right away. Just watched her. She took a step closer. This was my career, Ethan. No, I said quietly. This was your facade. Her lip trembled. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. Yeah, I said. You meant to be silent in Sedona, remember? She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just turned and walked out. And I let her go. You'd think revenge would feel like closure. But it doesn't, not really. It feels like the silence after an explosion. There's ringing in your ears, dust in your lungs, and a strange, hollow echo inside your chest. Like you won, but at what cost? Jenna didn't return after that night. She texted once. Just a single sentence. You didn't have to torch everything. I didn't reply. Because the truth was, I did. It wasn't just about the cheating. It was about how deeply she'd repackaged herself and expected me to clap for it. How she buried the lie beneath layers of oils, branding decks, and goddess lingo. Like infidelity could be exfoliated away. No, Jenna. I didn't burn your brand. You did. I just handed out the matches. The weeks that followed were strange. There were moments I caught myself checking her page out of habit, only to remember she'd deactivated it. Lamora was gone. Scrubbed from social, with nothing but ghost accounts and product not found, error messages left behind. Her name popped up in a few think pieces, the cult of clean branding. When wellness becomes weaponized, crisis PR in the age of influencer authenticity, but most quickly moved on to the next scandal. The internet's memory is as short as its wrath is loud. Meanwhile, R.A.F.E, my little mockery, took on a life of its own. At first, it was novelty. Then, it became community. I didn't expect that. I started getting emails. Dozens at first, then hundreds. Mostly women. Mostly tired. Some were funny. Screenshots of Lamora knockoffs with captions like, "Found her glow, lost her integrity." Others were brutally honest. I bought into all of it. The energy, the oils, the sacred mornings. But it was all just a prettier version of control. Thank you for making something that laughs at the thing I used to cry about. I stayed in a relationship like that for 3 years. Your tagline hit harder than any podcast ever did. Formulated by men who cheat. It was absurd. It was sarcastic. And it was true, in more ways than one. People didn't buy R.A.F.E for the products. They bought it for the mirror it held up. Still, part of me struggled to breathe in the aftermath. Our apartment, once a showroom for plants, crystals, and self-care rituals, now felt sterile. I removed her eucalyptus bundles from the shower rod, gave away the velvet meditation cushion, donated the bookshelf full of divine feminine manuals and moon calendars. The only thing I kept was one of her unopened jars of Lamora's Inner Earth Replenish Balm. Not because I needed it, but because it reminded me of just how slick a lie can look when you label it right. I set it on my desk. My little reminder. Not all branding is bad, but not all branding is honest, either. One Saturday afternoon, about a month after the collapse, I stopped by a farmer's market near Echo Park. I hadn't planned to buy anything. Just needed to get out of the house and breathe something that wasn't Wi-Fi and old emotions. As I wandered between booths, I passed a small table with local skincare vendors. Nothing unusual, lots of wildflower salves and sunspirit sprays. But then I saw it. A modest wooden display with a familiar typeface. It wasn't Jenna's work, but it was inspired by it. A woman in her late 20s was demoing handmade soaps with packaging that looked suspiciously like early Lamora pre-rebrand. Muted colors, nature photos, a handwritten font that reminded me of Jenna's old product tester labels from her West Hollywood apartment. I paused, watching the vendor talk to a customer. She spoke with warmth, none of the affectation I'd grown used to hearing in wellness circles. "You made all this yourself?" I asked. She looked up and smiled. "Yep. In my kitchen. Just me and a borrowed Vitamix." "Nice packaging," I said. "Looks honest." She laughed, not understanding the weight of the word for me. "Thanks. I just wanted it to feel like me. Not like some ethereal brand soul or whatever. Just soap that doesn't pretend to be sacred." I bought a bar. Lavender oatmeal. Maybe it was just soap. Or maybe it was hope. That night, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I opened my old portfolio, not Jenna's. Mine. Before Lamora. Before the retreat. Before everything became tangled in betrayal and branding jargon. I scrolled through projects I'd forgotten about. A coffee brand for a single dad in Denver. A zine-style rebrand for a queer artist collective in Oakland. Even a failed pitch for an eco-packaging startup that never launched. Each one had a story. Not all were glamorous. But all were real. I felt something stir in me. Not revenge. Not bitterness. Just the itch to create again. Not to take something down, but to build something up. A week later, I shut down R.A.F.E. Not because it wasn't profitable, it was. But because its job was done. It wasn't a brand. It was a mirror. And it had shown enough. I posted a farewell message on the site. We were never meant to be permanent. Just loud. Just true. If you came here for healing, we hope you found it in the laughter. Or at least in the exfoliant. Stay skeptical. Stay glowing. R.A.F.E. I got dozens of thank you emails. A few sad replies. One particularly sweet message that said, R.A.F.E. was the only skincare brand that ever told the truth by lying on purpose. I like that one. As for Jenna, I heard she moved to Topanga. Started doing private energy alignment sessions for high-end clients. Not under Lamora. She rebranded again, quietly this time. No live streams. No taglines. Just a Wix site with pale moon images and vague phrases like conscious journey facilitator. I don't know if she's still with R.A.F.E. Last I heard, he pivoted to brand intimacy consulting for Web3 startups. Whatever that means. I don't hate her. Not anymore. She lost herself in a story she thought people wanted. And I let myself disappear in hers. But I'm done being part of someone else's brand. These days, I consult quietly. Pick clients who don't think their essence is a trademark. Work on stories that feel more like confessions than campaigns. I'm not trying to build empires anymore. Just trying to build honesty. Even if it's a little messy. Even if it doesn't glow. The last thing I ever expected from all this was a second act. The plan had been simple. Expose the truth, watch the empire collapse, get in one good punch to the ribs of the influencer industrial complex, and then disappear. Return to the quiet shadows of normal branding work. Help some startup founders name their beard oils. Maybe even write a few minimalist taglines for a dog treat subscription box. I didn't expect an audience. I didn't expect loyalty. And I sure as hell didn't expect to be asked, weeks after R.A.F.E. shut down, to build something new, something real. But that's exactly what happened. It started with a woman named Carmen. She was one of the first people to email me after the Lamora scandal. At the time, her message was short and cautious. My name's Carmen. I run a skincare nonprofit for women of color. We provide simple, safe, culturally aware formulations to communities overlooked by traditional brands. I saw what you did with R.A.F.E., and I think we might need someone like you. Not to stir the pot, but to keep the ingredients honest. She wasn't the only one. A few days later, an indie chemist in Portland messaged me about collaborating on a post-parody skincare concept. One that wouldn't pretend to be anything more than what it was. No goddess archetypes. No desert moon energy. Just good, effective, affordable products, labeled with transparency and a bit of dry humor. Then a podcast host reached out for an interview. Then two more. Then a small magazine requested a guest column titled The Ethics of Aesthetic. Why pretty doesn't have to mean pretend. I kept saying no. At first. But something in me was shifting. Quietly. Reluctantly. Like a seed cracking under weight, ready to grow in spite of itself. I wasn't interested in becoming a brand. But maybe I was interested in becoming a counterbrand. It was mid-July when I registered the domain. www.formulatedbyfire.com. At first, it was just a joke. A nod to the chaos. But the more I stared at the empty landing page, the more I started typing. The tagline came easily, almost like it had been waiting. Truth in skincare. Candor in copy. No moon dust, no men with man buns. Just products that admit what they are. Then the mission statement. We're not here to sell you a lifestyle. We're here to sell you lotion. We don't believe in crystal energy or alpha frequencies. We believe in ingredients. We don't want to heal your inner child. We want to clear your skin. If that leads to inner peace, great. If it doesn't, we still won't lie to you about it. I sent it to Carmen first. She replied 10 minutes later. Launch it. Don't wait. We'll be your first partner. This time, I didn't go viral. And that was the point. There was no live stream. No betrayal. No anonymous leaks or brand sniping. Just a soft launch. A small run of basic products with bare packaging and plain names. Nothing fancy. Nothing spiritual. Just things that worked. Cleansers. Moisturizers. Lip balm. Instead of inspirational quotes, we printed full ingredient lists on the front of every bottle, in bold, no-nonsense type. Each one had a deadpan slogan underneath. Clean enough, gentle gel cleanser. Because it's your face, not your soul. Not miraculous, lightweight moisturizer. We moisturize. You do the spiritual growth. Lipstick adjacent, tinted balm. Hydration. With color. That's it. I called the line. Formulated by fire. Not because the ingredients were hot or rare, but because sometimes You don't know who you are until you've been burned down. The orders came slow at first. A few dozen, then a couple hundred. No influencers. No billboards. Just word of mouth. One customer left a review that stuck with me. This feels like buying skincare from a grown man who's finally done explaining himself to yoga witches. I printed that and stuck it to my desk, right above the last remaining L'Amour jar. And then, months later, I saw her again. Jenna. It was accidental, or maybe inevitable, depending on your view of LA. We ran into each other at a small event for local artisans. One of those low-stakes mixers with handmade candles, pottery, and kombucha in plastic cups. She was wearing muted linen, hair longer than before, face less made up, but more guarded. She looked human. We saw each other at the same time. She walked over, cautiously. "Hey," she said, like we were old classmates and not two halves of a PR detonation. "Hey," I said. She looked down at my name tag, smirked. "Still doing skincare? Still doing truth?" She laughed, not loudly, just enough to acknowledge it. "I heard about the parody line," she said. "R.A.F.E. Yeah, that one had a short shelf life. Still, you really got me." Her voice wasn't angry. It was sad. "I didn't set out to," I said. "You just handed me the ending." She nodded, accepting it. A pause stretched between us. "I'm not angry anymore," she said finally. "I was, but I'm not." I nodded. "Neither am I." She looked around, hands in her pockets. "I thought if I built something beautiful, people wouldn't notice the parts of me I hated." They noticed. Yeah, they did. We stood there a little longer. Then she said, "I hope it's real this time. What you're building." "It is," I said. "Because this time, I'm not building it for someone else." She gave me a small, bittersweet smile. "Good. You always deserve that." And then she left. No drama. No tantrum. No scene. Just a quiet ending. Exactly the one I needed. A year later, Formulated by Fire has a small but loyal following. We ship nationwide. We sponsor zero influencers. We release nothing we can't pronounce. And we send a handwritten thank you card in every order. There's a new tagline on our homepage. No glow. Just good. It's not fancy, but it's mine. And in a city that once tried to sell me someone else's version of the truth, I'll take that any day. Subscribe to the channel